Maybe you are interested in the new generation of the Volkswagen Polo, but you don't intend to spend the money on the GTI or don't need so much horsepower, but still want a sporty look. Well, this is the VW Polo R-Line. Let's take a look at that one. An exterior, interior and the driving experience. Here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with Thomas. And of course, always in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front here, the R-Line already has a sporty look with a stronger lower bumper, for example. Headlamps come with halogen as base, optional than the LEDs you can see here. And you can also see this LED daytime running light signature. The color here for today, by the way, is ivory silver metallic. So yes, it is, the ground is silver, but then it has some beige nuance, so to say. Very interesting. Not too extravagant from the exterior styling, but always somewhat sporty, and I think this really fits the vehicle. Oh, and not to forget this horizontal chrome strip that is also special to the R-Line. 4.05 m, 13'3" or 160 inches is the length of the Volkswagen Polo, and it starts with 14-inch wheels and goes up to 18-inch for the GTI. And those ones here are the 17-inch. The R-Line already comes with bigger 16-inch wheels, and those ones then, the 17 one, are the optional ones. R-Line also has the special R-Line badge here, contrasting lower bumper. In general, this new Polo has a dropping line at the door handles, which divide in light and shadow. An overall rather conservative layout, but it already looks somewhat sporty, especially, with the design dropping line that goes all around the vehicle right here. And also again, this color, very interesting here in the direct sunlight. In the rear we can again see a nice lighting signature. It looks a little bit more modern than in the previous generation. This new platform, by the way, the MQB A0 platform, gives more stiffness to the chassis that should play out well for the driving part. And in the lower end, well, those are the new fake exhausts that are being used all over the place, especially in the Volkswagen Corporation. Yeah, I think we could also have lived without those. Engines, there's the 1-liter MPI, naturally aspirated one, 65 or 80 horsepower. Then this one here, the 1-liter TSI, the turbo petrol engine of the 3 cylinders, 95 horsepower or 115 horsepower. That's the one we drive today. 9.5 is the acceleration figure, either with manual hand drive or with DSG, dual clutch transmission. And the bigger one is also at 1.5-liter TSI with 150 horsepower. Or in the GTI, 2-liter TSI with 200 horsepower. Those latter two ones are both 4 cylinders. And then there's also 1-liter TGI, a CNG engine with 90 horsepower. That would be quite similar to this one here. And the 1.6-liter TDI, a diesel with 80 or 95 horsepower. Looking at the interior together, you can see this one here is all hardpack at the inside of the door. So the execution of the stuff here in the interior, also like the window levers, is really cool. But some cost savings here, for example, for the hardpack plastic materials. Don't like it that much when the car has that price in this segment. Then optional active info display, digital instruments, so more details to that. The steering wheel from the Golf. And you get either some basic fabric seats for Polo, or in the R-Line here, sport seats you see with more bolstering on the sides, and they are either available with fabric or also with the Alcantara on the inside. Really nice job, and also the different material choices like Alcantara, some fabric here, also on the other side of the inside bolsters, and then some leatherette. So really cool seat, and also visually wise, very nice job. In this new generation, the Polo is more spacious than before. This is thanks to this new platform. I'm 1.86 or 6'1", and when I put the seat all the way down, it still leaves some decent headroom. So even for tall people, headroom-wise, no problem. But of course, the seats in itself, I mean, the seats are very nicely done. But if you look at the compact or mid-size segment or so, if you have bigger cars, of course, you have more room for taller people. This will not play such a big effect if you're smaller than me. Then, you know, this is then also perfectly fine. But you just have to be aware of there are also some limits of the comfort for taller people. Yeah, you know, sometimes taller people have advantages. Sometimes in other cases they have disadvantages. That's just how it is. Steering wheel with a smooth process here in reach and height. And I also recommend to put the seat maybe a little bit higher also for comfort reasons. Again, the headroom is totally fine that you can also just do that. Let's enjoy this interior perspective together, where you have a clean setup here, different decor elements. This one is a matte design, you maybe also hear that. That's well done. You get different colors for the Polo for that. You start with a 6.5-inch screen. This one is the optional 8-inch screen, so the bigger one, but you can see this one also still has some knobs here for the volume, and also when you're in the map that you can zoom in and out. This one here, the Apple CarPlay view, Android Auto is also available with the cable, and the Beats sound system is for small vehicle really very decent. You have to tune the bass a little bit down because the Beats sound system is usually a little bit bass heavy, but then it's really absolutely fine. Very interesting. Zoom more details to the screen here. Left side starts with analog instrument, those ones are the optional digital ones. Steering wheel from the Golf with some ACC controls on the left. You can go for the ACC optional, and the right side you control the central display here with those knobs and also change the view. Climate unit still manual here with those knobs, easy to reach and to control. Well, to put a little bit low down there, but it's still somewhat okay. Lower end, then 2 USB ports for your smartphone, also with an inductive charging pad below. And then the optional DSG dual clutch transmission, and we can also switch the driving modes. We'll talk more about that when we drive the vehicle, because this one has the so-called Sports Select. What is that and how is it different to a DCC? I'll explain you all of that in the driving part very soon. Now close up to this screen. Here you can go back to the VW menu or just press menu right here. Then you can see this touchscreen right there, and for example the GPS. It's very well to see, a very clear display, and also with good reaction times. And again, I really like that you can still zoom in and out here. That's very helpful when you're driving, for example. However, this CPU unit does not allow the map at both sides of the digital displays at the same time. Here, when I have switched it over, I have it now in the instruments, but not here anymore. That's of course a little bit sad. And this is the rear view camera. You can see there are those beepers also active at the same time. And then, well, the resolution is quite okay, but not the most fancy ones. And you can see there are no adaptive lines changing or something. So the lines itself, they stay as they are also when I turn the steering wheel. And here we go now with the instruments. Then you have the map in the middle part right there. You can also zoom in and out with the thumb at the steering wheel. But you can also have some other views in there. For example, telephone, something. Oh, driving data is also very interesting, because this is also the average consumption, 6 liters here on 100 kilometers. That is somewhat okay. And if we translate that into the other figures, that would be about 39 mpg UK, 39 mpg US and 47 mpg UK. Other than that, you can change the whole view of that. For example, well, this one is a little bit strange, right? Isn't it? But then we can have some other stuff in there. When you go to the map, then it makes more sense that you can change it around a little bit like this, and then you have the whole map view in there. It does not flicker in real life, just a little bit on camera, by the way. And the normal view for that, again, you can go back, have this different view opportunities. Go back this, yeah, you know, this would be like one of the standard views here, for example, and also with info for the ACC. And then here we have a 12-volt power supply. It's still a manual handbrake. Yeah, of course, for my drifting and stuff, you know. And then those cup holders, not adaptive. That is also weakness. And again, hard plastics. So that's also where they saved some money. But here the armrest, nice fabric, and it's also very well attached, cannot shake it. You can slide it a little bit forward, it's actually possible, like this. You can also lift it up and then you have some more space inside. And here we also have a nice bright fabric ceiling like that, brings light into the interior. A panoramic roof is also an option, by the way. But wait a minute. What are we missing? No handles here at the top ceiling, and that's again a piece where they saved money, and they said that customer surveys showed that hardly anyone is using them. Would you use them? As for the rear passengers, well, we are in the small car segment, so don't forget that. Not such a length, but then I can exactly fit in here, so you can drive this vehicle with 4 tall Ls. That's exactly possible. And that wouldn't really be possible in the previous generation. Here, this new platform also have a little bit more space, especially for the rear passengers, as for the legroom. And headroom again is absolutely no problem with 1.86 m or 6'1", totally fine. And considering, those seats are also not too short here for the rear part department, sometimes it's really that in the very, very big cars, those benches here are maybe even shorter. So actually quite decent comfort here. Of course, when there would be a smaller driver in front of me, I would have a little bit more legroom, but how the bench is being formed and so on is actually quite decent. Also Isofix at the outside seats each, and you flip the seats already from here. No middle armrest here whatsoever, but you also have some more two more USB supplies if you want that here for the rear passengers. And also nice, look at this visual setup here for the rear, also with the microfiber, so you also have this sporty, somewhat single seat design in the rear. Let's take a look at those 350 liters of trunk space, and it's actually quite well usable. You could also fit a replacement tire in right there, and the normal trunk length here to the normal ending would be about, in the middle is about 67 centimeters, and the width right here is just about a meter. That's really, the same as also for bigger vehicles. And the height here to the cover is about 40 centimeters. And I always flip one of those seats. And if we go to my front seat, this 1.40 meters. Of course, we can also show you how it looks like with some luggage inside. And you can also still put a vertical suitcase in there, but, just in the middle part here. Does it close? Yeah, that still works. But when you come to the side, then it gets really close. And then you rather have to lay it flat down right here. And if I do it like this, then this one here would be the maximum setup. Hey, you're watching me. What's up, brothers and sisters? You get it right here for Thomas's driving lounge with the Volkswagen Polo R-Line. And in this case also the 1-liter TSI with 115 horsepower. Acceleration is 9.5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So it's not the weakest engine, but by far also the strongest engine for this vehicle. Really like a mid-trim engine, so to say. And we start here with a little bit of city traffic, and then we head on a little bit countryside and also show you some motorway driving, all aspects covered here with this vehicle. In this new generation, the Polo feels a little bit more grown up if you compare it to the predecessor. So a little bit, yeah, that was so typical. Yeah, I mean, sometimes other people let you in and see that you maybe have like a cyclist on one side of the road, but some others don't. That's, paying respect to one another. Very important in traffic situations. The best is when you yourself begin with showing respect to others, then you also get something back. And it's also the thing, I was just mentioning, like thinking about, yeah, we'll really. Oh, yeah, that's the front beeper. No, I want to deactivate it. There it is. Whew. Okay. It shouldn't be too close, right? But, that's also part of the parking beeper here. That's life on Autogefühl. So what I want to talk about is being in a small car amongst bigger cars. And you know, I drive so many different cars, and it's really always the case when you drive a small car, you're being bullied. People don't let you in, people cut you off, you know, they really bully from behind and so on. And when you have a big car, you know, they leave you space, they let you in, they don't, you know, run onto you. People are also throwing your cigarettes out of the windows. So must have been, you know, must be one of those days. You know those stories, you know, like with the cigarettes, and like motorcyclists, for example, can actually even jump into the helmet when it bounces off. For example, people have died from it, you know, really fierce accidents. Of course, if you know, like the leftovers of the cigarettes, especially with the filters, birds eat them. They suffocate from that, basically from the inside, so it they cannot digest anymore. Then it blows up, and then they die from it. So, yeah, throwing cigarettes out of the window, I think, to me, always a reason to a horn. Also, you know those videos there where people, there's like this one bike riding guy who gets like a 50 or 60 used cigarettes, and when someone throws cigarettes out of the window, he takes like a bag of 50 cigarettes and, you know, knocks on the window goes down, puts 50 cigarettes inside. So deserved then. So yeah, but back to the car. So it does feel more grown up, more like a little bit bigger vehicle, but still you feel that it's here in the small car segment. So I also feel a comfort difference when I'm, for example, driving a comfort car, like a compact size car, because this one here in the small size segment, especially if you're a little bit taller, you know, it does all work, like for the headroom and so on, but the seats itself, you know, they are not that suitable for really tall people. And I also feel that it's somewhat still okay here, but definitely you feel a comfort difference. The steering wheel is also, well, you know, it's not too small for the vehicle, because we also know it from the Golf here. This one here, the MQB A0 platform, so the MQB platform also used for the Golf, but MQB A0, this, you know, derivation of that one, this one here is an own small car platform, also being used by the Seat Arona, by the Skoda Kamiq, by the Skoda Scala as well, also by the Seat Ibiza, of course. So a lot of siblings inside the corporation of Volkswagen, also the VW T-Cross. And the good thing is that this MQB A0 platform, it gives you more stiffness in the chassis, so more stability when driving. That's good, so the ride overall is sportier than before. And this is also one of the key elements of this car. It's on the one hand pretty silent for a small car, so the noise insulation is really very good in this segment, also, you know, among the leading ones. And at the same time, it's really very nice and sporty ride. So I remember driving the GTI here for the Polo, but already this one here is a lot of fun. Also, when I just leave it in the base suspension setting. And that's also very interesting here as for the suspension settings. So when I stay here in the city, I just leave it normal in comfort, because then the bumps are even out quite well. And also you'll be just fine with the normal base suspension. You save some money, and it's already doing a good job. Because this one here, this optional Sport Select one, you also get it standard with the GTI. Don't mistake it for the DCC, which is available in the bigger cars the brand is offering. The DCC is a dynamic chassis control, which is an adaptive suspension. So you have some presets like normal or comfort and sport. And in between those areas, it varies because it's adaptive. Oh, Tesla Model 3 customer vehicle. Hardly see that in Germany. And this one here is the Sport Select suspension. That means you can also put different driving modes, but there are just two suspension settings, and they are not adaptive. So you have either normal or sport. And then between those, you know, settings, it doesn't vary to softer and harder, what the DCC would do. So here you can go to the sport, and now it gets stiffer, especially when you run over some bumps. It's just uncomfortable, you know. When the road is very even, nice 2CV, yeah, vintage car. When the road is very even, it's fun, it's cool to drive. But most of the times people won't have so even roads or like a flat surfaced racetrack or something. And you know, then it doesn't help you so much. So if you ask me, spend extra money for the Sport Select. Don't do it unless you have something in mind. Oh, I have this track or this like road that is always very well made and I can have really a lot of fun with a very even, fresh tarmac surface. Unless you have that, you know, okay. But other than that, I'll just stay in the normal mode because it just gives me more comfort. Also the sports mode, by the way, it changes the gear, you know, how the gears are being put in, how the RPMs are being turned up and so on. I can also stay in normal mode and then use the gear shifter here and put it to the S shifting mode. Then it's also a little bit sportier in the shifting and the gears are turned up higher and so on. And you can also use this shifting pedals here, shift down. For example, when you're running down, you want to use the engine brake, or shift up here on the right side. That's always fun to do that too. And just use the shifting lever, again the center run, to go back to the D driving mode. So in general, I think to me the main characteristic is, we'll also head onto the motorway very soon, there you can also hear it, good noise insulation, pretty silent, and it feels like a refined ride for a small car. You know, some older small cars, you drive in them and you see like, yeah, they get me from A to B, but it's like, you know, yeah, you know, not a really sophisticated vehicle also. And this one here also feels somewhat sophisticated, although we're still in the small car segment. That's also the key thing of this one. And a lot of driving fun already with a non-GTI version. The steering is also pretty precise and direct. They all have this somewhat progressive steerings. It's a little bit better in the GTI even, yes. But already here it's quite fun because you don't have to take your hands on the steering wheel. You can always control it very well, and still it's somewhat light to control it when you're parking in and out, and I really liked it. So this overall new platform here they have, and the general characteristics of the car is really cool. Also with those sporty R-Line seats here, keep you a little bit tighter when you are, you know, in a corner. I mean, just, you know, you don't slide on them too much. Also with the microfiber surface, they also keep you a little bit tighter. And that's also reducing like the G-forces that are being, it's not literally reducing the G-forces, but you know, it helps to compensate the G-forces. That's what I want to say. Now head on to the motorway. And we'll put it to the sports mode. As for the sport shifting mode, now uphill here. So when you're S mode, it tends to shift down. You see, for example, D mode shifts up again. Now, for example, I can also shift down myself before to induce a little bit more speed. So here, for example, from 70 to 100, but I'll go to the third gear and let's go. Plop. And that was already 100. So you see, you have, because it's a turbocharged engine, still some decent power. So that's nice. And you might also wonder, wait, that sound, wasn't that a little bit peculiar? And if you're listening to Autogefühl reviews quite frequently, you know that this sound, I can just repeat it again. So I'll go down with the speed. A little bit like, although it's a small engine, this is a typical sound for a 3-cylinder engine. This one here also, the 1-liter engines are 3 cylinders as a naturally aspirated, the MPIs, but also as the TSI, as the turbos. And then when you get to the 1.5 liter or the 2-liter for the GTI, those ones then are 4-cylinder engines. And it's really funny that the 3-cylinder engines somehow sound better and more low frequency alike, you know, that's really funny. But it's definitely enough for the weight of the vehicle, and here also at 100 kilometers an hour it's perfectly fine. You can also set the adaptive cruise control, keeps the speed, ACC, also keeps the distance, very nicely done. Blind spot monitor, maybe you've already seen it active. when I was driving, it flashes when the car is trying to overtake. It's really helpful. It's also available for this car. And the front assist, so the autonomous emergency brake, is already from standard equipment with this vehicle. So assistance systems wise, also a good job they have done here. Now into the next roundabout, they can see they don't have to turn the steering wheel that much. And the car really gives you a good feeling where it's actually at, precise to steer right there. Accelerate a little bit out. So yeah, it's really a lot of fun to take these corners, because I've taken those corners here with a lot of different vehicles. And again, not on the GTI, but I already feel a little bit like I would have a sporty car. And that's of course the fun thing about this one. And out again. Front wheel drive only, of course. There's no all-wheel drive whatsoever for this very platform. Now I set the ACC again. And of course I'm always ready to take over, but let's see if I want to trust the vehicle to I'm not braking, so to reduce the speed here to 0, because that's possible with the DSG, with the automatic gearbox in combination. It's not possible with the manual gearbox. And here you can see, of course, I'm still holding my foot over the brake just to be sure, but then see here speed being reduced to 0. That's again a job well done. And now it was starting on itself again and told me, fix the brake that I really know that you want to stop. Very interesting as well. And the brakes also definitely sufficient, especially here when you have those disc brakes. Remember, above 95 horsepower, starting with 95 horsepower, or also when you have a DSG, then you always have rear disc brakes. Other than that, it starts with drum brakes in the rear. They are more cost effective, so to say, so it's not the end of the world if you don't have them. I think it's always nice to have the disc brakes, and in a lot of cases then, depending on the engine, as I said, you will automatically get them. This is the blind spot monitor, and when I turning indicator, sorry to irritate 4 Series Coupe or something, I think, yeah. Then it also flashes, the blind spot monitor flashes. So there was a victim now of an Autogefühl driving demonstration. It was like, oh, is this guy turning now or what? Or not turning, so. Yeah, that's really annoying, right? The start-stop function. Talked about this a couple of times. Start-stop function. The reason of those systems is not to save the environment, not to save you money. The only reason is to bring down the official fleet consumption altogether. By this means, for the manufacturers, that they pay less fees for exceeding CO2 levels. It damages the engine on the long-term run, or it's not good for the engine. Doesn't save you any fuel, because sometimes you just have to accelerate a little bit harder out, and it sometimes really just annoys you. So it's nothing for the environment. Those start-stop functions are absolutely bogus. Can't say that clear enough. And we also had one feature where we took those engine test departments, and they really showed us how this, how the pressure is built in the system, and it's really not good for the engine. And when especially when you have it for 20 seconds at a traffic light or something. So now up onto the countryside, and get a very good and refined ride we have here. Overview, the mirror here is rather designed, so this doesn't give you the best overview through the mirror. It's quite slim. And again, the rear hatch is upright, good overview there. The A-pillar is not too thin. See also the Beats logo at the A-pillar. B-pillar is, it's not too slim, but you can still see stuff there. But recommended to get the blind spot monitor. That is really a very helpful option. I would always go for that. Also to the rear side here. So this is the good thing about those classic dimensions and the classic building style of this vehicle, that you can very well see what's going on all around you. So something of that I really like. Yeah, the Sport Select, just save the money. Doesn't have the biggest advantage. The base suspension is just doing all fine. And again, if I would use it here now, for example, for the sport mode, it would just give me a rough experience without any more joy in driving this vehicle or something. So, but that's also what we're here for. So when you want to buy the car, you really know which option is really helpful, for example the blind spot monitor, and where can you save money, for example just leave out the Sport Select suspension. And so we always strive to get you the best price performance deal when you purchase a vehicle, with leaving all the PR blah blah or marketing stuff aside and just being honest. I think that's also what you deserve, and what's also our unique selling point at some point. So, been a very interesting ride here with the Polo R-Line, and I say I really like it. It's one of my favorite cars in the small car segment. The Polo always holds what it promises. When you go for a Polo, there's one sorry, there was a Golf sports van. You see how similar they look like from the front. That's always funny. This is Seat Leon now, and the white one is a Seat Leon, not a Seat Ibiza. So, when you get a Polo, you get a decent small vehicle, which is, not cheap at all. So it's rather expensive here in the small car segment, but you get a decent vehicle, also with a nice build quality and so on. And especially in driving, it always holds what it promises. And I think that's, would I say you get what you pay for? Yeah, I mean, you get really decent small vehicle, but I would also still say, they do so many things very good. And if it would be a little bit cheaper, that would surely be something. Of course, especially in Germany, with a lot of market power, they sometimes have some deals going on, where big car dealer groups also, for example, offer special deals. You can get a good leasing rate or also nice purchase price. And then again, it makes sense. But when you just stay and talk about the list price, then the Polo rather exceeds most of the other competitors. Besides the Audi, But this also, Audi A1 also on the same platform. You get a more fancy, it's like an old Mustang. Also very nice to look at. Really art of really design work. Now we get to some more nice corners. That's what I also really enjoy. And this is also what makes those smaller cars likable, because you don't spend so much money in it compared to other bigger cars, but already get a very, very fun car. But yet again, I think it's really helpful to pick the options that are really necessary for you and then get rid of the other stuff, because again, the danger that this vehicle here gets super expensive and you could directly buy a bigger one or something or whatever, there's really high danger that this car here gets too expensive. But yet again, the drive, when I just put a small conclusion to it, it's a very, very solid drive, and just by its driving features and the dynamics and so on, and the refinement of the drive, it is definitely among the leading ones in this very small car segment here. And now to our conclusion with the Volkswagen Polo R-Line. Exterior-wise, it's already a sporty design, yes, and I think quite nicely done. However, the design is not too extravagant, somewhat conservative, a classic small car segment. Interior is also quite nice from the build quality overall. However, a lot of hard pack plastic, so a lot of material choices are okay if the car would be cheaper, but not for that price. This is also one of the main problems of this vehicle. A lot of things are so well done, but it gets really expensive. So this car, as it stands here right now, 32,000 euros, and it's not a GTI. I mean, you could also already get a GTI for that price, but then if you put all the extra equipment in it, it will get a little bit more expensive even. So yes, the R-Line will say less expensive than a GTI, but you really have to think about which extras do you really need for a Polo, considering base Polo is at 16,000 euros, for example, taking the German reference prices. Other than that, here with the new platform, good stiffer ride, already fun to drive, when you have one of the base versions. That's really cool about this vehicle. Also good as for the noise insulation, and also a lot of space on the inside because this new platform uses the space a little bit better. Which one would be your favorite Polo? Please tell me in the comments. And also, what do you think in general about this new Polo generation? And also, if you rate it to the competitors. Of course, you can enjoy more reviews here on Autogefühl, so please tune into those or for the next episode. See you next time.